As the trade tensions between the United States and China escalate, a new chapter in the ongoing economic conflict has begun, with China recently imposing tariffs on a range of U.S. agricultural products. This decision marks a significant response to the increased levies announced by President Trump on Chinese imports and reflects the broader context of a trade war that has been intensifying since Trump took office. On March 10, 2025, the Chinese government implemented tariffs of 15% on key U.S. commodities including chicken, wheat, and corn, while imposing a 10% tariff on soybeans, pork, beef, and various fruits. These tariffs come as China seeks to protect its domestic market amid rising tensions. The National People's Congress, currently in session, described the U.S. tariffs as disruptive to global industrial and supply chains, highlighting the interconnected nature of these economies. The timing of China's tariffs is particularly notable, coming shortly after Trump announced a second round of tariff increases on Chinese imports, raising the average tariff on affected goods to approximately 39%. Since Trump's first term began, the U.S. has effectively shifted its trade strategy from a cooperative approach to one focused on economic nationalism, with Trump asserting that tariffs are necessary to bolster the American industrial sector and generate revenue. Despite the harsh rhetoric and economic measures, both nations have expressed a willingness to negotiate. China's Commerce Minister extended an invitation for talks to his U.S. counterpart, while Trump suggested that a new trade agreement might be on the horizon. However, the economic landscape remains fraught with uncertainty, shaped by ongoing tariffs and a faltering Chinese economy that is grappling with reduced foreign investment and the aftermath of a real estate crisis. The ramifications of these tariffs extend beyond bilateral trade. For American farmers, China represents a crucial market, and these new trade barriers threaten to destabilize the agricultural sector, which has been a crucial component of the U.S. economy. While the Chinese government has stipulated that products shipped before the tariffs took effect would not be taxed, the long-term implications for U.S. exporters could be severe, as they may face significant losses in market share. Beijing's strategy also includes restricting U.S. companies from purchasing Chinese goods without special permission, further complicating the business environment for American firms operating in China. This retaliatory action is part of a broader pattern where China has previously targeted U.S. exports such as natural gas and agricultural equipment in response to U.S. tariffs. In parallel, the Trump administration is escalating its scrutiny of China's shipbuilding industry, proposing steep levies on Chinese-made vessels entering U.S. ports as part of a broader strategy to reduce dependency on Chinese manufacturing. This move has strong bipartisan support and aims to bolster U.S. shipbuilding capabilities, which have lagged behind China's rapid expansion in this sector, capturing a significant share of the global market. As the U.S. seeks to reclaim its position in shipbuilding, the implications for global shipping and trade are profound. Companies like MSC, the world's largest ocean carrier, face potential financial repercussions amounting to billions of dollars due to the proposed levies. The cost of shipping goods could rise significantly, affecting consumer prices and disrupting supply chains. In conclusion, the unfolding trade war between the U.S. and China is not merely a bilateral issue, it has far-reaching consequences for global trade dynamics and economic stability. As both nations continue to impose tariffs and countermeasures, the prospects for a resolution remain uncertain. The future will hinge on both sides' willingness to engage in dialogue and the potential for new trade agreements that could alleviate the current tensions. For now, businesses and consumers alike must navigate a complex landscape shaped by evolving policies and economic challenges. In recent weeks, the convergence of political and technological discourse in China has been nothing short of remarkable. The annual National People's Congress (NPC) convened in Beijing has become a focal point for discussions surrounding artificial intelligence (AI), signaling a shift in the country's economic narrative that has long been shadowed by concerns of stagnation. This year, however, the atmosphere was notably invigorated, spurred by the advancements made by local startup DeepSeek, which has captivated investors, political figures, and regulators alike. The NPC, concluding its 7-day session on March 11, showcased unprecedented enthusiasm for technology as evidenced by the MSCI China Index, which saw a 4.3% uptick during the gathering, the strongest performance in 7 years. This surge in the stock market can largely be attributed to the excitement surrounding DeepSeek's innovations, which have reinvigorated interest in the Chinese tech sector that had been beleaguered since regulatory crackdowns began in 2020. Communist Party officials from various regions were quick to promote their locales as potential AI hubs, suggesting a competitive spirit fueled by the desire to attract investment in talent. Lawmakers proposed a range of initiatives aimed at enhancing AI education application and research, reflecting a broader recognition of AI's societal impact. During a press briefing with top financial officials, Wu Qing, chairman of the China Securities Regulatory Commission, humorously noted the tech-centric nature of the discussions, stating, "This presser is almost becoming a tech-themed one, underscoring the growing importance of technology in national policy." The emergence of DeepSeek, which reportedly developed a sophisticated AI model at a fraction of the typical cost, has reignited investor confidence in Chinese assets, while media outlets have highlighted other innovative startups like Manus AI, which claims to execute complex tasks in real-world scenarios. This renewed focus on tech coincided with the announcement of a substantial 1 trillion yuan $138 billion state-backed startup guidance fund aimed at fostering AI and quantum technology development. Regional initiatives have also flourished, with cities like Chongqing and provinces like Guangdong unveiling their own funds and subsidies to stimulate AI and robotics sectors. These local governments are keen on leveraging their manufacturing capabilities to transition into high-tech industries, mirroring the earlier surge in solar energy and electric vehicles. However, historical parallels raise concerns. As these sectors once faced overcapacity and profitability challenges, the current AI enthusiasm may also lead to similar pitfalls if not managed judiciously. Amidst this technological fervor, the NPC sessions also highlighted some underlying issues, particularly the difficulties smaller tech firms face in securing bank funding. This was voiced by NPC Deputy Zhou Tongyu, who lamented the barriers that prevent many innovative businesses from accessing necessary capital. Her comments reflect a broader concern that while the state aims to bolster the tech ecosystem, it must also ensure that smaller players are not left behind. Despite the optimism surrounding AI, challenges remain in the regulatory landscape. Analysts have noted that while the Chinese government is pivoting towards a more market-oriented approach, its historical tendency towards centralized top-down economic strategies may conflict with the decentralized nature of successful tech innovation. Tilly Zhang of Gavkal Dragonomics pointed out that the state's evolving role suggests it aims to be a patient investor, yet doubts linger about its ability to strike the right balance between oversight and entrepreneurial freedom. As the dust settles on this year's NPC, it is clear that AI is not merely a buzzword but a cornerstone of China's future economic strategy. The enthusiasm seen during the sessions hints at a new chapter for the country's tech landscape, with potential implications for global markets and innovation trends. However, the path forward will require careful navigation of both opportunities and obstacles, as China seeks to solidify its role as a leader in the burgeoning AI sector. The world will be watching closely to see how these developments unfold in the months and years ahead. As China concludes its National People's Congress NPC on March 11, 2025, the nation's leadership faces pressing questions about the future of its economy amid a backdrop of uncertainty. The annual event, attended by nearly 3,000 delegates, highlighted the urgent need for strategies to invigorate a slowing economy. With the global economic landscape increasingly influenced by trade tensions, particularly with the United States, the Chinese government is grappling with how to translate ambitious policy declarations into tangible economic growth. At this year's Congress, Premier Li Qiang announced a growth target of about 5% for the year ahead. Analysts, however, remain skeptical about the achievability of this goal given the limited measures laid out in the government's work report. Notably, the Congress revealed plans for increased borrowing, including 300 billion yuan, approximately $41.3 billion earmarked for consumer rebates to stimulate spending on new cars and appliances, but much of this funding is expected to support the beleaguered housing market and local governments burdened by debt rather than directly enhancing consumer demand. The budget raises questions about how much of a jolt it will provide to underlying domestic demand, noted Jeremy Zook, lead China analyst for Fitch Ratings. The concern is palpable as China's economy has been hampered by a prolonged property crisis that has undermined consumer and business confidence. Furthermore, external pressures, particularly from a trade war initiated by U.S. President Donald Trump, cast a shadow over the economic outlook. Trump's administration has increased tariffs on Chinese imports, prompting retaliatory measures from Beijing, further complicating the landscape for growth. Amid these challenges, President Xi Jinping has initiated a push to revitalize private enterprise, which is crucial for economic expansion and job creation in China's state-controlled economy. A proposed law intended to improve conditions for private businesses was discussed but not voted on, signaling ongoing deliberation about how best to encourage private sector growth without undermining state control. This Congress sends a message to entrepreneurs that the private sector is important, commented Neil Thomas from the Asia Society Policy Institute. In a related vein, the Chinese government has voiced concerns about what it calls rat race competition among businesses, a term that encapsulates the fierce rivalry leading to price wars and market saturation in certain sectors. This situation has prompted calls for regulatory reforms to alleviate the pressures on companies and foster a more sustainable competitive environment. On the international front, the ongoing trade conflict with the U.S. looms large. China's economic diversification efforts in response to shifting trade dynamics have not completely insulated it from external volatility. Alicia Garcia Herrero, chief Asia-Pacific economist for Natixis, emphasized that while China has made strides in diversifying its export markets, the U.S. remains a critical partner. The greater fear is not the tariffs themselves but the health of the U.S. economy and demand for Chinese products, she explained. As the NPC concluded, the absence of top political leader Zhao Leji due to illness highlighted the uncertainty permeating the Congress. The rubber stamp parliament overwhelmingly approved key government reports, yet the real test lies in the implementation of policies that will genuinely stimulate growth. Finance Minister Lan Fowen reassured reporters that the government possesses adequate tools to address uncertainties, but skepticism remains about the effectiveness of current strategies. Looking ahead, the path to revitalizing China's economy appears fraught with challenges. The ambitious growth target of 5% may necessitate a significant increase in money supply growth, as analysis suggests the requisite rate would need to reach 10%. Current trends in money supply growth, however, fall short of this mark, raising questions about the government's capacity to meet its economic objectives without further stimulating monetary policy. With a complex interplay of domestic challenges and international pressures, the coming months will be critical for China's economic trajectory. The effectiveness of the government's response to these headwinds will not only determine the health of the world's second-largest economy but also influence global economic stability in an increasingly interconnected world. The developments following this year's NPC will warrant close observation as China navigates its economic revival amidst ongoing global uncertainties. In a concerning development for regional stability, China is systematically establishing a legal framework that could justify a military invasion of Taiwan. This strategic maneuvering highlights a shift in how Beijing approaches conflict, blending legal legitimacy with military preparations. According to a recent commentary by military lawyers from the U.S. and Taiwanese armed forces, the implications are profound for Taiwan's allies and the broader geopolitical landscape. The authors Cheng Deng-Fong and Tim Boyle assert that understanding this legal framework is crucial as it shapes both domestic and international perceptions of potential conflict. By creating a legal basis for military action, China aims to frame any invasion as a lawful internal matter, thereby complicating the international community's response. Legal frameworks shape the way conflicts are justified, perceived, and responded to. The author's note emphasizing the importance of countering this narrative to deter aggression. At the core of China's legal preparations is the One China principle, which asserts that Taiwan is an inseparable part of the People's Republic of China. This principle serves as a purported legal justification for military action, allowing Beijing to argue that any intervention is an internal issue exempt from international scrutiny. The anti-secession law enacted in 2005 represents a critical component of this framework. It allows for non-peaceful means if Beijing perceives any threats to its sovereignty over Taiwan, signaling a readiness to escalate military threats. China's legal strategy does not exist in isolation. It is complemented by a series of domestic laws that reinforce its claims and penalize any external support for Taiwan. The national security law and national defense law further legitimize military action and frame foreign engagement with Taiwan as a violation of Chinese sovereignty. As tensions rise, with incidents like former U.S. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan in 2022, China has intensified its military presence in the Taiwan Strait, conducting joint exercises that blur the lines between civilian and military activities. As the authors point out, China's legal maneuvers serve to normalize its military posturing, complicating the response of Taiwan and its allies. The recent joint sword exercises, which included blockade rehearsals, exemplify this approach, aiming to desensitize the international community to aggressive actions that might otherwise provoke a strong response. In light of this, the legal implications of Beijing's actions are becoming increasingly significant, as nearly half of UN member states now support its One China principle without conditions for peaceful resolution, raising concerns about tacit approval for potential aggression. Looking ahead, the commentary outlines several anticipated legal maneuvers that China may undertake to solidify its claims and enhance its strategic position. These include further international endorsements of its One China principle and the potential introduction of a one country, two systems model for Taiwan, akin to the framework used in Hong Kong. Such a model could serve as a propaganda tool to undermine resistance within Taiwan while simultaneously providing Beijing with a legal pretext for coercive measures. To counter these developments, Taiwan's supporters must actively challenge China's legal strategies. The authors recommend a multifaceted approach that includes exposing the legal flaws in Beijing's claims, fostering international recognition of Taiwan's autonomy, and ensuring that Taiwan has a voice in global forums. They also highlight the importance of coordinated counter-lawfare strategies aimed at dismantling the legal arguments underpinning China's aggression. In conclusion, while an invasion of Taiwan is not an immediate certainty, the establishment of a legal framework by China raises the stakes for regional security. The gradual erosion of the legal norms intended to prevent aggression underscores the need for proactive measures by Taiwan and its allies. By reinforcing the rule of law and ensuring that China's lawfare tactics are met with robust opposition, the international community can work toward preserving peace and stability in the Western Pacific. As the geopolitical landscape continues to evolve, the interplay between legal legitimacy and military readiness will remain a critical focal point for all stakeholders involved. The political landscape in Canada is poised for significant change as Mark Carney, a former central banker, assumes the role of Prime Minister, succeeding Justin Trudeau. Carney's leadership promises to intensify Canada's confrontational stance against both Beijing and Washington, amid ongoing trade tensions that have escalated in recent months. Analysts predict that Carney will navigate a challenging diplomatic environment fraught with tariffs and retaliatory measures that threaten to reshape Canada's foreign relations. In a decisive victory, Carney secured 86% of the vote in the Liberal Party leadership race, signaling a strong mandate to tackle pressing economic issues. His commitment to a tough approach on trade was evident in his victory speech, where he called for respect from the United States as it engages in a trade war with Canada. This backdrop of tension has been exacerbated by U.S. President Donald Trump's recent imposition of a 25% tariff on approximately two-thirds of Canadian imports, prompting Ottawa to respond with tariffs on $30 billion worth of American goods. The situation escalated further when China announced retaliatory tariffs of up to 100% on Canadian food products. This move followed an anti-discrimination investigation initiated in response to Canada's tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. The Chinese government, through state-affiliated media, framed these actions as a strong warning to countries that impose tariffs on Chinese goods while seeking exemptions from U.S. tariffs on their products. The complexities of this trade war extend beyond mere economic implications. They reflect deeper geopolitical dynamics that could redefine international relations. Carney's challenge will not only involve mitigating the immediate fallout from these tariffs but also addressing the broader implications for multilateral trade agreements and Canada's role on the world stage. As tensions mount, the potential for an economic standoff looms large. With Carney at the helm, Canada's approach is expected to be characterized by a blend of assertiveness and strategic diplomacy. Experts suggest that navigating this intricate web of tariffs and trade relations will require a careful balance of firmness and negotiation to protect Canadian interests while avoiding further isolation on the global front. Looking ahead, the implications of Carney's leadership on Canada-China relations will be closely watched. Both nations have significant economic ties, and how Carney chooses to engage with China could influence not just bilateral relations but also Canada's broader economic strategy. As analysts continue to assess the potential outcomes of Carney's policies, the overarching question remains: can diplomacy prevail in an era marked by escalating trade wars and political confrontations? In summary, as Mark Carney prepares to lead Canada through a tumultuous period of international trade challenges, his administration's ability to foster constructive relationships while defending national interests will be critical. The unfolding narrative will not only shape Canada's economic future but may also set a precedent for how nations navigate the complexities of global trade in an increasingly polarized environment.